2, 1.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the J&C podcast. Welcome to Cloud Thoughts episode 3, where, like a cloud, our thoughts come and go. So glad to have you guys back here for our third episode of Cloud Thoughts.
We're going fast.
Yeah,
Already episode 3.
we took like a long break from recording this podcast. The last time we recorded was like 2-3 years ago.
Yep.
And then we just started to come back at it, and it's good. I'm having fun. We're having fun. So okay, I wanted to start this off. Last night I was pretty pissed. So I am.
Tell me about it.
Yes, I need to vent.
Get it off your chest.
So last night I was supposed to receive a package from FedEx, and I've received many packages before, and this problem has actually occurred to me before, which is why I just don't get it, because I feel like it's such an easy problem to avoid. But anyway, I was supposed to get a package last night, yesterday afternoon, and I was downtown, and I knew that the package was going to come in a couple of hours, so I was trying to get back from downtown as quick as I could, but
Right.
nevertheless, I was downtown, and I got an email from FedEx saying my package was delivered. And I was like, oh, okay, great. I guess I'll just go home and get it. And when I was downtown, I remembered that my package, because the package itself was a pretty expensive package. It was a very expensive pair of shoes. I am into shoes, for anybody who cares, but it was a very expensive pair of shoes. And I remembered that on the invoice I bought from the company, it said signature required. Like, it needed to be released by signature. So then I was like, wait a minute, so how did this thing get delivered? Because to my knowledge, nobody was home. So anyway, I checked the email, and it goes signed for by FedEx. I was like, what? FedEx signed for my package?
Well done, FedEx.
Yeah, I didn't understand it. So anyway, I get home like an hour later, and I go to my door, and I don't see one. You usually get those notices on the door. Yeah, I didn't get that notice. There was no package. There was nothing. I get inside my house, thinking that there was maybe somebody home. Nobody's home. So now I'm freaking out. I'm like, okay, where's this package? Because I'm thinking that somebody either stole my very expensive pair of shoes, or there's something going on with the tracking. Maybe it was a glitch or whatever, right?
Right.
So now I've remembered. So when I was earlier, I said this has happened to me before. There's been times, I can remember easily 2 times before, where the delivery guy delivers a package to the wrong house. And like, he'll deliver it 3 houses down, 2 houses down. I remember one time he delivered it to my friend's house who lives a block away from me. And he delivered it to his house because we have the same home number. But he did it
Right.
2 blocks away. I don't know how that makes any sense.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense to me. But this is not the first time that the delivery driver has delivered it to the wrong place. So I was like, okay, maybe that's what the case was. Maybe he just delivered it to the wrong house. So I got in my car, and I drove around my area. I looked on my street, adjacent streets and whatnot. And I was looking inside people's. Well, I didn't go actually in, but I peeked through like the screen door. Like people have those screen.
Yeah.
Okay, I was looking in there. I was looking on doorsteps. I was trying to see if there was a package. I didn't see anything. So I'm like, okay. Now at this point, I'm pissed, because not only do I not have a very expensive pair of shoes, this was supposed to be signed for, and the guy signed for it himself, and he just dropped the package.
That's getting sloppy nowadays.
Yeah, it was honestly, UPS does the same thing, except UPS, I don't know if they have that signature required thing. I think you have to request it. I think FedEx is either the company that you buy it from says it. UPS, I've known for the longest time, they'll just drop off a package no matter how expensive it is.
Yeah, I feel like FedEx is a bit more like up there in terms of like a little bit more higher quality.
Right, that's exactly what I was thinking.
Than UPS, yeah.
So I couldn't believe that this happened. So anyway, I called FedEx, and then I called them and I told them what happened, and then they opened up an investigation. And the whole time, the whole rest of the night, I was just so angry. I was like this could have just been avoided had you done your job and waited for me, a person at my home, to sign it. Like, leave me a door notice. Anyway, I was just really mad. Anyway, and at like 9 o'clock at night, I'm making a late night sandwich. I get a
Because that's what you do.
oh, I was so hungry. I don't know why, but I got a late night sandwich. I'm making it in my kitchen, and then I hear my doorbell ring, and I'm like, okay, it's 9 o'clock. Who's ringing my doorbell? So I go to my door. It's my neighbor who lives 2 doors down, and he's got my package in his hand. And
Oh,
he's
nice
like,
guy neighbor.
he's like, oh, sorry, the delivery guy delivered to the wrong address. I'm like, oh, okay, thank you so much for returning it. He's like, yeah, yeah, yeah. He hands me the package, and the package was open. So I think he opened it. I don't know.
I mean, I'd be a little. I mean, I'm not justifying it, but I feel
No,
like, a
no,
little curious
of
as
course.
to what it is.
I mean, if it's not your name though, like, would you
No.
not? I mean, if I saw that
was anything taken?
no,
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
no, but it was weird though, because remember how I said I went around the area and I looked? His house was one of the houses I looked at.
Well, I mean, I feel like at that point you probably took it like inside his house,
Right.
rather
So
than
he
just,
took
like,
it inside his house.
Yeah.
Okay. And I don't know, like, do you not look at who it's addressed to?
I've had
I
that.
always do
Well,
that.
yeah, I've had that times like where the odd time, like my mail. I guess for whatever reason when I was working a couple years ago, that they would whatever the payroll basically would put like I guess maybe I did it wrong or maybe they did, I don't know, but they put like one extra, like one number more than what my house was.
Okay.
So then my neighbor would just come over and like scratch it out and say, oh, it's this number instead. But
I would think,
and vice versa too.
yeah, I would think if I got a package and it was not addressed to me and I saw that it was for somebody else's address, I would return it to that address.
I think it's just the right thing to do, but
I would never
I don't know.
open it.
no.
Oh my gosh. The box
That is
was
a little
open.
strange, yeah,
The
no.
box was open, and it was also 6 hours later, because this was at like 3 o'clock, and he comes to my house at 9.
So sorry, did you go out like right away to look for it? Like when?
Instantly, as soon as I got home and I didn't see the notice on the door.
Well, like how much time had like lapsed between like when you like said, oh, it was received, to
Oh,
like
okay.
when
So
you got
I got
home?
home an hour after.
Oh, okay, so at this point it's been out for an hour, so basically and then you started looking for it right away.
Yeah, when I got
So
home.
so it's basically been within that hour he's
Taking it inside
taken
his house.
Maybe he just didn't. Maybe like I don't know. I'm just
No,
guessing.
but he opened it. You see, I would understand if you're saying, because let's say he just takes the package in and forgets about it.
Yeah.
And then he's like, later in the day, he's like, that package I just brought in my house, let me see who it's actually for. And then he returns it. But the
Okay.
box was open.
Right. Here's my thinking. So I guess to the Scooby Doo this mystery real quick. I'm guessing maybe like his wife or like someone, whoever else lives with him, they got it and they're just like they didn't really know what to do with it, and then when they're like I guess her husband got home, it was a dude who like
Yeah.
So maybe he's just like, oh, that's interesting, and then just cut it open. He cut it open, or she did, or whoever, and then they're just like, oh, that's what it is, and then they took it back to you.
So if I'm gonna think about it, because I think you kind of have the right idea.
I'm just guessing.
If
to be honest.
if I'm gonna be in my most generous point of view and like the least harsh point of view, they got the package, they didn't look at it for 6 hours, they just didn't think of it for a long time, and then I guess at 9 o'clock at night or 8:30 or whatever it is, they decide to open the package and they realize that they didn't buy what was inside the package, and then they looked at the address and realized it wasn't theirs, and then we're like, okay, we got to return this.
Yeah, that's true.
So I
feel like that's
if
fair.
I'm thinking from the most generous point of view,
like best possible outcome.
like the most light-hearted point of view,
Right. Yeah.
giving absolute benefit of the doubt, that's what happened. Now, if I'm looking at it from the most, like the least light-hearted point of view, they were about to steal that package and they got guilty. They felt guilty. So you can either look at it from one point of view or you can look at it from the other point of view. Now, I don't know which one to look at.
Either outcome, you got your.
I got my
shoes. You
package.
got your
That's
package.
exactly what I was saying
Happy ending.
to my brother yesterday. I was like, at the end of the day, I could, make up these conspiracy theories, but I have my package. It's intact. It's perfect condition. There's, it's whatever. Move on with your day. But
Right.
hopefully I don't ever have to deal with that again. Like I said, it's the third time I've had to deal with that, but I don't know. I guess.
Oh, actually, yeah, no, that's similar. Well, thankfully, all my experiences have been pretty good. Like, I just got a Nintendo Switch,
Okay.
and I'd ordered it from Walmart because man, those things went fast. I was keeping my eye on like the bundles and I guess all the stuff that was coming out around Christmas, and my gosh, every time I checked, either something was sold out or it was just not being restocked, and it took about a month for Walmart to restock, and I was specifically going to Walmart because I had one because I had a gift card and
Yeah,
I wanted to be a
yeah,
little
yeah. No,
cheaper.
I know those ones. I know those
Yeah,
ones.
and two because they had more bundles than a lot of the other stores in Canada. So yeah, no, and then I finally got it, and I was like just kind of keeping my eye on because everyone does that. You keep your eye
Yeah.
on like your email or whatever.
Yep.
It's like, all right, is it coming? Is it coming? It finally came. Yes. All right. So thankfully it came for me, but then I had to go off to class. I had to go to class, so I had like 5 hours where I was like, oh, I want to get home and do that. But
Was it your package was like you were home when you delivered it?
yeah, and I had to
Okay.
decide for it. So that's why I'm saying it's interesting. I guess like so because when what? So you said you got it at 9. So you got it what at 4?
It was
Like it was
delivered
delivered
at
at
two.
4?
It was delivered at 2:30.
Oh, 2:30. Okay. So, because I was thinking like 5 hours earlier, but I'm not very good at math. But anyways, so yeah, you got. Oh,
No,
yeah, no.
the whole thing is weird, but
I was gonna say maybe it was like towards the end of his shift, and he's just like, you know what? It's Friday. When was this?
this was yesterday. This all happened yesterday.
Oh, it was Wednesday.
So today's Thursday?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. No, it all happened
Maybe
yesterday.
it's just like hump day, man. I was just like, yeah, I'm
No,
really done with my day.
I was also thinking that like maybe he was just I don't want to maybe he's behind on his deliveries and the guy was like, I don't want to waste another 2 minutes or 5 minutes writing out this door notice. So I'm just going to sign for the package myself and leave it. He could have done that, but okay, I'm going to say this to all the listeners. If you open up a case with FedEx or any of the shipping companies for a stolen package and they start an investigation, if the same thing happens to you, what happens to me and your neighbor or somebody else or whatever the case may be, and you find your package, call them instantly as soon as you figure it out. I called the lady. Well, I didn't call the lady. I called the FedEx line, and a lady picked up, and I told her about what had happened and that I opened up a case and that my package was returned to me by my neighbor and that I need to close the case. I'm telling you, the reaction she gave me was she was ecstatic. She was like, "Oh my gosh, thank you so much. Oh, thank you for telling us." Because I guess apparently people don't do that. Like, just they get their packages and then the companies go and do their investigations. And
No, I'm wondering if like this is one of two things. One, she's actually super genuine with that, or two, she's just really done with her day.
yeah,
She's just really done with her day, and she's just like so high on like caffeine, and she's just like, oh my
she probably had her
gosh.
5th Red Bull by that time.
Oh my gosh, thanks so much. I'm not gonna get fired today.
Yeah, I'd honestly, but because
Oh,
like I said,
yeah.
like they're gonna go waste all that manpower to do the investigation,
Yeah,
and it's already found.
yeah. I just imagine like either she's just like so relieved behind her desk, or she's just like rolling her eyes as she says that.
No, dude, honestly, I can see that she's
Yeah.
faking the reaction the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
But to be honest, like I just called because I didn't want people to do this investigation if it was no point.
Right.
But speaking of investigations that make no point, because
Okay.
this is a great transition into something that's been going on recently.
We're getting good at this, like transitions and stuff. I
No,
like it.
that was actually unplanned.
Oh,
No, we are getting good at this.
Oh.
I'm telling you.
look at that.
So
Okay,
for those of you who don't know,
like me.
like Josh,
Yeah.
because I was gonna talk. Before we started recording, I was like, "Hey, you want to talk about this?" And he goes,
That's a theme. I think now it's like, hey, before the show, you want to like talk about this?
"Yeah,
We should do that.
Yeah,
That would
so,
make so.
so." Yeah, every Cloud Thought episode is planned 38 seconds before we click the record button.
So I mean, it's slightly planned, but not really. Not enough to like actually know.
Yeah.
And this particular thing, he mentioned, I was like, I have no idea what you're
Right.
talking
So
about.
this is, I thought it was just great. So
Mm-hmm.
for those of you who have heard of the Jussie Smollett situation, Jussie Smollett is an actor on a show called Empire. Empire is like,
okay. I've heard
Empire,
of it,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. So it's like a TV show about hip hop, R&B artists in the United States and record label and whatnot.
Hmm.
So he's like one of the main characters on the show.
Okay.
And he about 2 weeks ago came and he like basically made this claim that he was a victim of a hate crime. So he claimed that it was like 2:00 in the morning and he wanted to get a sandwich from Subway. So he went to Subway at 2 in the morning, and when he was leaving Subway, two men came up to him and jumped him and beat him up and everything like that. And while they were beating him up, they were yelling racial slurs because the guy who's
Okay.
Jussie Smollett is a black guy, but he's also gay. So they were in his claim, the two men were yelling racial slurs at him, homophobic slurs at him, and they were also yelling political like stuff. So you know what MAGA is? You ever heard of that?
Make America
Make
Great
America
Again.
Great
Yeah.
Again.
Okay.
So apparently, in the claim that he was saying, while after the two men beat him up and were yelling all those things at him, they were, as they were leaving, they said, "This is MAGA country," and if you don't know, if you don't understand why they would beat him up, he's a very democratic like promoter, and Donald Trump
Okay.
is a Republican.
Yeah,
So
okay.
right,
Okay.
so he's on the other side of the political.
So okay, I will say, I know what you're talking about now. Like I've heard that story. I didn't know, for one though, that it involved that particular person.
Okay.
I did hear the other things I know about this is that, it was either Subway or he was like in like some sort of like more or less like a side of a building, like an alleyway, and they supposedly had footage. Allegedly, they had footage of this, and there was like they didn't actually show it on the news, unfortunately, but all I know is basically, yeah, like that way, exactly what you just said. But other than that, yeah, I didn't know it was him.
Yeah,
anything.
so yeah, it was him, and they there from the beginning, there were some, there were some people who kind of didn't believe his story just because of how, hyperbolic it was, just how, outrageous it was. Because there
Right.
were, I just basically gave a really simple description of what happened, but he also claimed that the two attackers tied a noose around his neck. He claimed that the
Wow.
attackers poured bleach on him. And, there were people from the beginning who were kind of skeptical of the whole story,
Mm-hmm.
but as far as everybody knew, the story was true, and you had major news outlets like CNN and
Of course, yeah.
and they were all pushing the story,
free story for them.
and political, people who were running for president were going. I specifically remember Kamala Harris, who is she's a Democratic person she's running for president,
Okay.
and she tweeted out how this is such a disgusting act, and essentially just validating what he said. Just going with his word.
Mm-hmm.
So over time, this happened 2 weeks ago. Over time, obviously when there's a hate crime, the police are going to start investigating. And when a police department investigates things, they start to uncover things. And slowly but surely over the past 2 weeks, it started to, people started to realize that maybe this story wasn't actually real. Maybe he's faking it.
It does sound like, my initial reaction, I guess, from it was like, first of all, I didn't know about the bleach. I knew about the news. I didn't know about the bleach and stuff like that. I guess my initial reaction would be like, yeah, that does sound a little out there, but it doesn't sound like it does sound like it would happen.
Yeah.
On the extreme case. But it does sound like it would be super targeted. Like these two guys must have been like following this guy.
Yeah.
Specifically knowing who he is, and it's like,
and
waiting for him to go to Subway.
At
at 2 a.m. in the
it was
morning. Apparently.
It was so weird. Just you think about all the things that he claimed, and you kind of look at reality and if you think about common sense and what would actually happen. This guy's rich, okay? Why on earth would you leave your house at 2:00 in the morning in Chicago, where it's below zero temperatures, like minus 10 degrees Celsius, at 2 in the morning to get Subway? Walking, not driving. He walked there.
Okay.
When you can easily go on Uber Eats and get something to get delivered to your house. I mean, he's rich, so money is not an issue for this guy. He's an actor on a very popular TV show. He's definitely got money. The first question for me is, why would you not just order Uber Eats?
Yeah,
Also,
makes sense.
another thing is, he called his manager first. He didn't call the police. He called his manager. He called the police, I think it was 45 minutes after it happened. So he was there for 45 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
and then he calls the police. And when the police show up, the noose was still tied around his neck. He didn't bother taking off the noose. It was still wrapped around. Anyway, you see, like, I'm telling you this story, and I see your eyes, and you're like, what?
Well, because I tend, and excuse me, sorry about the pop there, but normally I tend in any of these kind of situations, even on the podcast, like in the previous episode there, that I have, like, I do play the devil's advocate in that sense. So like I try my best to be like, okay, this, like, to like, okay, I just lay out everything in front of me, like, oh yeah, okay, so this could have happened, this might have, you know. So the way you're saying it, yeah, it sounds like it could have been something that was easily done. For now, I'm thinking of like motive behind this at this point.
Yeah.
Because you're telling me all this, and now I'm thinking, well.
So this is the interesting part. If you want to talk.
Okay,
about
sorry.
motive.
Yeah, I'll talk.
Well,
about
no. This
ahead.
is because I wanted to wrap this all around, because this was the main thing. You know, what you're asking is what everybody was asking.
Okay, I'll let you finish then.
So we have the hate crime. He says that it happened, and then all the major news coverage says this is an example of a modern day lynching. This is an example of Trump's America. Sure. Racism still exists. Blah blah blah. This is the narrative for a week going on, and then more and more investigation goes on. People are starting to the police are starting to release reports, and people are starting to get more. People are starting to get more curious, more confused. More things are coming out. It was early in the investigation that they figured out who the two attackers were, and it was two Nigerian black guys who did the attack.
So it did actually happen.
Well, they found those two guys on the camera. Now, remember how you said there was security camera footage?
Okay.
There was.
Right.
The security camera was in the position where they saw the two attackers, supposed attackers, but they never saw the attack. So what the police did, and if there was a press conference that they did today, and I was watching it, and what they explained was the reason how they found the two attackers was they basically used local security cameras in the area. They used police pod cameras, I think they said. They basically used every camera in the area that they possibly could to follow them basically after they left. After the supposed attack happened, they followed them, and then they eventually saw them get into, I think it was an Uber or something like that, and then through the Uber they were able to get their account information, and they were able to figure out who they were. So it was discovered that it was two black Nigerian guys. Now, when that came out, people started to get suspicious, because why would two black Nigerian guys do this hate crime in the name of Trump, essentially?
Well, okay.
Right? Because
okay.
Now, the interesting thing is that Jussie never specifically said that it was white people. He never specifically said that a white person hit him, because they were wearing ski masks, apparently, is what he claimed. So he never actually saw who they were. Now, if somebody is beating you up, calling you racial slurs, right? If you're a black person getting called a racial slur, if you're a black person who's gay getting called homophobic slurs, and if you're a black person being beat up and you get basically yelled at saying this is MAGA country, this is Donald Trump make America great again country, who do you think is beating you up?
Well, you'd assume
it's a white person.
Yeah, in this
case.
As
soon as it came out that the two guys who were caught on video at the area, at the time, place, whatever, were two black Nigerian guys, it was how, like, this whole story started to just get super, super off. Because why would two black guys call you racial slurs?
Okay, again, I'm just literally just trying to look at like every single angle from this, but I have heard of, and I have seen in videos and stuff like that, like there are like black conservative people,
but I don't think they would
Republican
ever.
People.
There are,
to go that far. I think you'd really have to have it out for that particular person.
But you're calling them a racial slur,
right?
So like you're also attacking. That's like me.
Be really whitewashed Nigerians,
yeah.
I guess, or just not white. Okay, whitewash is the wrong term, but like very not democratic, but very strong Republican people who would want to do that, especially if you're gonna make race a factor. Then sure, but I mean, I think anyways, whatever.
To me, it just doesn't make any sense if you claim that the two people beating you up are calling you racial slurs and they are of that same race. It just doesn't make sense. But anyway, I forgot to mention the important part, or the interesting part, the motive.
Okay.
Why did he do this? So I was watching the police press conference today, And the chief of no, not the chief of police, the superintendent of the Chicago Police Department, his name is Eddie Johnson. He made his opening statement, and in the opening statement, he claimed why he did it. So basically, his statement was first, sending a false letter that relied on racial, homophobic, and political language. So that was, I guess, the first thing he did.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so Jussie apparently sent himself a fake letter that was supposed to be like a death threat letter, and he sent it to himself. And then that one wasn't really reported. I guess it wasn't big enough. So he then goes on to say, because the letter didn't get enough attention, or because the letter didn't achieve its goal that Jussie wanted, he then staged a hate crime, and he paid $3,500 to stage it. He paid those two black Nigerian guys $3,500 to be at that place at that time, and basically they didn't actually beat him up. They were just there to be caught on camera.
Theoretically, if this did happen, I feel like, dude, you might as well have just hired, like, to make it really believable, especially with the whole atmosphere of, you know, America and racial and stuff like that, you might as well just hire 2 white people.
But okay, so I was thinking the same thing, but why would any white person agree with that?
If you now
But you're on camera, like
I'm personally not like super into like politics. Like I know, and I have my own stances and everything, but like I wouldn't say like, unless you just really don't care about the politics of it, and if you're just getting paid, then it's like, well, money's money. You're wearing a mask, like.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I think that if somebody asked you to commit a hate crime and it was gonna paint a negative picture on your race, I mean, would you do it?
If you don't care, some people just don't.
I mean, I wouldn't do it personally if somebody paid me money to if people don't know, I am white. If somebody paid me to commit a hate crime that paints a negative picture on white people, I wouldn't do it.
Okay. I guess, well, that's you particularly.
But. I guess, no, you're right. I guess some people wouldn't really care. But it does, yeah, you know, if you're really trying to make this thing realistic, pay white people instead of black people.
But anyways, yeah, no, it maybe it was more just like, it was like it could have been, I'm just being like, not skeptical, but I'm just speculating. But like, it could have been just like, oh, you know, and if this is all true, then it's like, oh, because the letter didn't work or didn't get the attention he wanted, he's just like, got to do this really quick. And it's like, what resources do I have like right as of now to do this?
Yeah. And well, it's actually good that you brought that up, because I forgot to mention that the access to resource is very important, because these 2 guys are friends of him. They acted on the show Empire. Awkward. So you're absolutely right. No, you're absolutely right. He just went to the quickest resource he had.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really awkward.
Yeah, I forgot to mention that. I don't know how I just forgot to say that. That was another reason how we started to, as soon as the police reported that the 2 guys were Nigerians and that they were on the show Empire, the whole case just started to fall apart. Like, his whole claim started to fall apart. But yeah, so just going back to the statement by the superintendent. So he says, when the letter didn't work, he paid $3,500 to stage the attack, and the check was found by the police from Jussie to the 2 guys of the $3,500, so they can prove that. And basically, in his words, and drag Chicago's reputation through the mud in the process, because, you know, he basically, in doing this, made Chicago as a city look racist.
Has there been like a formal confession of this yet? So
that he's actually in, I think one of the guys said it's a bond court. Essentially, he's in court right now with a judge and a jury, and he's basically pleading his case or whatever he's doing right now. But if he's convicted, then he'll have the sentencing, whatever that will be, and then he will obviously have to make a public apology. If he doesn't, then he's just going to be shunned for the rest of his life. But anyway, this is the very interesting part, right? So so after his statement, he says when that didn't work, he paid $3,500, blah blah blah. Why? Smollett was dissatisfied with his salary on the show Empire and wanted to get sympathy. So if he was caught in this hate crime, then the show would feel guilty and they would have to pay him more money.
That was his
mindset. That was his
mindset.
Goal. That was his mindset. That's what he wanted.
Is it? But again, like, has he said these things yet, or is this just all?
This is what the the superintendent of the Chicago Police Department said in his statement this morning.
Okay, well, at that point, it's still speculation. Like, until like the guys actually confess, like, yeah, I did this.
Well, I mean, he hasn't publicly confessed it, but these guys have interviewed him multiple times.
Okay.
So I mean, they've brought him into custody for interrogation. Like I'm sure he said,
I would still take this with a grain of salt because I mean, there's not really a big reason for the police to lie about this at this point.
No, I mean,
it wouldn't really be to anyone's big like benefit.
No,
but at the same time, I would still be like a little weary of it. I would wait until the outcome of the
hearing today.
Of the hearing,
right?
Exactly,
So he's gonna go through his hearing, and he's gonna he's like I said, he's in front of a jury, so he's gonna do whatever he has to do. He's got his lawyers, his expensive lawyers, right?
Right.
But yeah, so that's what he's gonna do, and we'll see. He's been charged with a class 4 felony of disorderly conduct and filing a false police report.
Ouch.
So I looked at it. It's really not that serious because if you look at it, nobody was hurt in the situation. Nobody specifically. I mean, the city of Chicago and Trump supporters and Trump's America, whatever, they were affected in this case because it was a negative attribution. It made them look like racist.
Right.
It made Chicago look racist. Like the idea that there are those types of people in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
So in that sense, somebody was hurt. But if you look at a specific individual, even the people the 2 Nigerian guys, they were paid. So they weren't really hurt in the situation. So the charges that they charged him with kind of make sense. So, I think it's I heard somewhere it's a misdemeanor charge. So it's really not super serious. There's
mm-hmm.
a maximum sentencing of 1 to 3 years in prison, but I highly doubt that's going to happen. I think what's going to happen is this is my opinion. I think he's going to go to court today, where he is in court right now. He's going to admit what he did, and the judge is going to say, okay, you need to do a public apology, and you need to, do some public service.
Pay a fine or something, whatever.
Pay a fine, do a public service. Basically, you have to pay, because, there's, like I was talking about how FedEx, they put resources into this. There
mm-hmm.
was a lot of manpower put into this investigation to try to find who committed this hate crime.
Ooh.
And it was for nothing.
Would be I'm not a judge. I haven't studied law at all, but would be a really good ironic kind of punishment?
What?
Is to, again, it's probably like the money that went into this and the time it went into it, he has to give back.
Right.
I feel like that'd be like mind you, I feel like it should be more, it probably would be more depending on the, the laws and how they formulate like a court. But I guess the thing too is, was he able to again, like I've the only things I actually know about this is what I've said. So again, I'm totally in the black about this. But did lost my train of thought now. Oh yeah, sorry. Did he have did he have bruises on him? Did he have bleach marks on him and the noose kind of mark and whatever?
So going back to this is on the 29th, I think is when he reported it. There was a screenshot of him FaceTiming his manager.
Mm-hmm.
And in the FaceTime, he was in the hospital, and he had 1 bruise on his right cheek and 1 scratch on his left cheek.
Was it real?
It was real,
okay.
But going back to the skepticism of the case in the early stages, I remember how he claimed the noose and whatnot. So people were already suspicious about that. And
mm-hmm.
then, you're claiming that 2 guys beat you up and jumped you.
Mm-hmm.
Are you really gonna only have a bruise and a scratch? I mean,
I don't know.
I mean, if you're jumping somebody, you're gonna really.
They didn't report any more injuries, did they?
No, he had no injuries other than those 2. That was also something that this guy, the commander of the Area Central Detective Division, his name was Edward Wodnicki. He was in the thing today. He also confirmed that when he was in the hospital, the only thing he had were the scratches and the bruises on his cheeks. And it's assumed, of course, they don't have proof of this, but it's assumed that those were self-inflicted. So again, the theory is that this theory is well versed. The detectives basically came together and put this all together. He's in court right now. He'll probably admit to everything, but the theory, the way it's looking right now, is that he basically just paid those 2 guys to show up, be in the area so that they could get caught on camera, and then leave in a time that made sense for the jump to happen, and then he just hit him. He basically cut himself on the cheek and punched himself or whatever it was.
If you were to follow this continual line of thought, you could also say that because he's an actor, he would have an easier time faking it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, 100%. And that was also because he went, Good Morning America, the ABC morning show.
I've never watched, but I know what you mean. But I've never,
Yeah, so
never
he did an
watched it.
interview on Good Morning America, and you could see he was acting the whole time. So he went on the interview. This was around the time where people started to get really skeptical, and they were like starting not to believe him. And he went on and did the interview to basically say, no, like, how do you not believe me? But you could tell it was all acting. I mean,
I guess we'll have to wait.
We'll have to wait. I don't know. I mean, I can check Twitter right now just to see what's going on. I know the hearing was today, because that's what the guy Edward Wodnicki said. He said he's in the bond court today, but I don't. Let me see. Latest. I'll go on Twitter. Yeah, people. It's just a bunch of people tweeting right now. I don't see any like CNN or anything like that because
it's a shame that I guess that was if this is true that was in fact like his approach because. Like, I mean, we all have our own, like, political stances, but, I mean, when you start dragging in, like, pretty well at least half the country, I would say.
Oh, for sure.
At least half the country, or if not half, a good portion of the country, dragging them down like, oh, everyone, this kind of encompasses everyone who is, I would my first thought is conservative, but I know the term is Republican.
Republican, yeah.
But that you do affect like a whole lot of people.
100%.
And now the ironic part is that the people maybe he didn't intend to like inadvertently affect that many people, but I mean because you could take advantage of the situation with all the discussion, the political clouds over the United States, but ironically it's coming back to probably bite. But the Democratic Party as well.
Right, because exactly, yeah. You're absolutely right because they jumped on it and they claimed that he was telling the truth. So
yeah, be really careful
you
nowadays.
Gotta be, and I think there's a huge debate. So this is something else we can talk about because we do study media, and I think it's something that we talk about in class. I know I've talked about with my professors is the validity of media in today's society. Is it something that we take for granted? Do we, as media students, do we want to, have the clickbait titles and get the clicks, or do we want to be an honest source? I think that in today we have, people like CNN who reported this case as, truth instantly. They didn't investigate anything and they said, oh, this is true. This is an example of modern day lynching. This is an example of Trump's America. You don't need to fact check, or we don't even need to look into this because we already know it's true, which it turns out it wasn't. And are we just as people in the media, are we just focused on pushing a narrative, or do we really care about journalism?
Well, let me give you some food for thought about this because I think I can kind of contribute to this. So one of my classes, we had an assignment where we had to go. We had to like physically. It was a lot, I think, for the actual assignment itself. But you had to find a story, like a current story. Obviously, for us in Toronto, and go out and interview people. Find like a primary source, being like people who are actually like in the. So I guess just kind of follow along with me. If those of you don't really know how like journalism is composed and how stories are composed, this is from my understanding. This is according to my professor. So you have your primary source being like people who are actually involved with the story, people who are experts on the thing. For instance, I did like there's like some new driving laws in Ontario and yeah, so I got a hold of a police officer being my primary source. Then you have your secondary source, people who like witnessed it. People were kind of like indirectly like involved in it, and then of course your third perspective people. So I've noticed when I was writing this, it is so easy to, because I was going through like when I was interviewing the police officer, for me it is so much easier to take stuff out of context and then make the story something completely different.
Yeah.
It's very tempting. I was like, because I'm very much against that, and I will blatantly say that to anyone. I'm very much against anyone who takes news and then twists it to have a certain angle on it just to benefit their perspective. And it is also very easy when you ask questions to someone to ask the question in a way where you're going to get a particular response.
A specific response.
And it frustrates me so much. And So I know where these reporters. I'm not, mind you, I'm not studying journalism, but I know where these people are coming from. And even a journalism student I asked who is in third year, I did for another project. He's just like, a lot of news sources are really big. Like for us in Canada, we have CBC, Canadian Broadcasting, which is like one of the main, I would say one or two, one of three, maybe.
No, it's definitely up
the
there.
main,
Yeah.
And they try very hard to keep their credibility like in check. One, because I think it is government sponsored.
Yeah,
I'm
so they
pretty
want
sure
to
it is.
definitely be nonpartisan.
Exactly. So, and that I respect. But then I'm just, again, I don't know the details, and I'm not going to call any particular American news stations out. I have like some that I kind of believe that are just like, they're doing this more for entertainment. I'm not going to say who, but I'll let you guys fill in the blanks. But basically where I'm going with this is that it's very easy. Like, people will just jump on a story if they know it's going to get a certain reaction. That's where I was going with this. People will jump, especially if, excuse me, ooh, losing that.
I've messed up the pop filter.
Especially if they're going in if they know that they have an audience for that story, or if they know that there is, like, for instance, an extremist group that will jump around the back of this and they know they will get views, they'll do it. And mind you, I guarantee you, and this is just my speculation, but I guarantee you they probably couldn't care less about the situation.
Yeah, and
They care more that, hey, look, it's a free story for us. Pick that right up. We get now. I don't know. I thought it was that you either sell a story to the news station and then you get paid for that, or you get paid by the hour. I don't know how it works, but I think
it depends
I think it's by the story.
because I know that there's the Associated Press.
Jeez. Sure.
Okay, so the Associated Press, Reuters. So these are basically what you're talking about. It happens with like half of the reporters. So if you work for CNN and you're a reporter, your story goes to CNN because you work for CNN.
Mm-hmm.
But people who work for the AP or Reuters, they will do their stories and then they'll get sold. So they're like it's like an external source.
Okay.
I think Associated Press and Reuters have better connections than CNN or Fox News or CTV or whatever it is, because they're particularly nonpartisan. They don't follow a certain side.
Right.
But that's the case where they would sell it. So you would have they're like these third party guys who they do all these stories, and then you'll see a lot of times when you go on to like articles,
Mm-hmm.
and you can even see this on like Global News, whatever it is, CTV, CNN. At the bottom it'll say the person, the author, and it'll say from the Associated Press or from Reuters.
Right.
And that will be that story was purchased from that writer.
Mm-hmm.
But basically that's all it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I guess, and then relating this back to the whole, what's his name? Sorry.
Jussie Smollett.
Jussie Smollett. Yeah. So that's I always think about this every single time I see a report, because I'm not a huge fan of the news, mind you. I do appreciate that there are a lot of people out there who genuinely want to present the news, and they want to give you the facts. They want to do their job and let, like in journalism, which is, in a nutshell, it's you presenting the facts and letting people decide. That's what it should be, and that's what some people do.
It's informing the public. As a simplistic definition, that's what journalism is.
Right. But then there are people who are just like, they say that they're a news station, but obviously they're either heavily endorsed by like a political or some sort of organization, or they're doing it because they know they're going to get
clicks.
Like, yeah. They know they're going to get a reaction from it, and then therefore they publish that kind of story. So, like I said, am I surprised that there's this whole news story? No, because it's, in a nutshell, it's basically like a news reality show in a sense.
Yeah.
So, and again, it is unfortunate that Jussie kind of took this route. Oh, there's my phone charge. It's unfortunate that he did take this route, because now I know I don't think maybe he wanted to actually go for the whole like harming the Republic.
No.
It's so weird, 'cause I always think conservative, but I know it's Republican. Like he wanted to like, I don't know if he had inadvertently wanted to hurt the Republican Party, but he did. And even though it was just for his own personal thing, and of course, that's the problem, is that I guess I think he should have known this, but like he should have known that like reporters would have been all over this and would have spun it a certain way.
But that was exactly what he wanted. I think you're right. I think that the overall impact on Chicago as a city, the Republicans in the United States of America, people who support Trump, I think that was an inadvertent side effect, was that they were going to, their name would be tainted.
Right.
But I think his intention with this whole story was to get news coverage,
Right.
was to get the clicks, and then to get pity from his bosses.
Right.
Essentially, that's what he wanted to do.
Yeah, but I now that I'm thinking about it, he could have gone like with more of the what do you call them? It's like it's like the gossip and like those kind of gossip shows where they just say like
Like E.T.
yeah, like stuff like that. They make up like it's like, oh, so and so said this or whatever, right? I think I was just thinking, he could have gone that route, but then again, I don't think it would have made as big of an impact as it has.
It blew up. This was a huge story, and I think that's exactly what he wanted. But just like going back to a question that I wanted, I guess I want your opinion, but also like anybody who's listening to the podcast or anything like that, do you think that news journalism, whatever that type of field in the future is going to be even relevant? Because if we don't trust the news sources that are at the top, how can we trust anything?
It's interesting you say that, because I've asked like when I got a chance to sit down with like a journalism student. He's in his third year, and so he's quite a ways in. And it's too bad I didn't get a chance to talk to a professor. But I guess the whole thing I kind of took away from it is that genuinely, and this is what he said. He was saying that a lot of people just genuinely don't care. Now I could contest to that. Like if we be honest, guys. Be honest, whoever's listening, and if you see the news and you see like something's being reported, I guarantee you a lot of us aren't gonna go out of our way to double check if it's true. Or we're not gonna do in case some of you don't know, like cross referencing, which is basically just if you see a story, seeing who it's like politically backed by, who it's organizationally backed by, what do other news stations say about this, do they have a different angle on this, and then you just kind of compare, and then you kind of see what the common denominators are, and then you probably know, okay, that's probably true, or this particular thing is probably true. So but I don't know, I don't think, like, I can't even tell anymore. I've said this in another podcast, but I can't tell anymore if I'm a millennial or Gen Z.
I think we're considered Gen Z. I think we were talking by like 2 years we're Gen Z, or 3 years we're Gen Z.
It doesn't matter. Well, it does matter. But the point being is that, like, I don't think our generation does care as much as they should. I think eventually they will, because especially since the internet has blown up so much, it's kind of funny in that way. Like, I've seen on YouTube videos when people post like 10 facts about something, there'll be people who will call them out if they're wrong.
Yeah.
So
the internet has made it a lot easier for people to research stuff.
Exactly. And it's made it easier to share news, but it's also made it easier to like call people out on fake news. And I think that trend will keep going, because you have people who are like an expert in journalism, unlike me. You have people who are experts in like police work or in forensics or in sports, and they know when like they spend like their entire life on this kind of stuff, and they can tell you like if this is true or false. So I don't know. I think it's still going to be like a prominent thing, because that's just kind of the approach a lot of news stations take, because they know they're going to get an audience from it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So my opinion on this is
mm-hmm.
it's very similar to yours, as in we're probably gonna have to get to the point where we have to cross-reference everything we look at.
Yeah.
Because I've gotten to the point where if I'm watching, or if I'm just scrolling through Twitter and I see a headline, if that headline is the bit outrageous to me, or the bit eccentric, if I'm saying that word right, eccentric, I don't believe it. I don't even read the article, because I know, or I've been trained by mainstream media, that when you see a title that is clickbaity, it's probably leaning towards their narrative, whether that's on the left, whether that's on the right, whatever it may be. And that kind of sucks, because I think as people, we shouldn't have to go do cross-referencing. I think as people, we have our own full-time jobs, whatever that may be, and we don't have time to do that. Go ahead. Because think about it. Journalists go to school for 4 years, whatever the case may be. They do this.
It's a degree, yeah.
It's their job.
Mm-hmm.
And we have our own jobs. Now, whether you're a mechanic, you're a police officer, you do your job during the day, and people trust that you do your job properly. Nobody cross-references your work because we trust that you're doing your job.
Yeah.
Now it's gotten to the point where we have to do the journalist job for them because we don't trust them. And I think that's awful. Because we're both getting into this field of media, and specifically for me, I'm taking a lot of courses that involve media writing, journalism, public relations, whatever the case may be. And if I get into this field and I'm doing, my job, and people are not believing what I'm saying, I feel like what I'm doing is useless.
And that's what goes back to what I said before. Like, it's unfortunate because, like I said, there are good journalism people out there who literally just report the facts.
100%.
And I can contest to this, being like the assignments I've done where I've actually like have to do cross referencing, and it's like, okay, so these guys do have some validity to them. They don't add their own twist to it. They don't ask like rhetorical questions. They just report the facts. That's what it should be, and it is unfortunate that newer journalists who are coming in, that's more or less the reputation automatically that's going to be put on them.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
It's as soon as you get into the industry, that's the idea that people are going to have about you, is that they have to cross-reference your work because now with all the fake news and not even just fake news, it's just, biased news, which is so contrary, you know what I'm trying to say?
Contradictory.
So contradictory to what the original purpose of journalism was. We've gotten to this point where it's all about narrative. It's all about clicks. It's all about getting people's attention. It's not about informing the public. It's just about proving. I don't even know if it's about proving. It's just this bubble. It's a political ecosystem. It's a, whatever the case may be, ecosystem. It's just gotten to the point where I just can't believe we've gotten to this point in journalism and news and whatever it is. And I'm fearful for the future. I'm going to be honest. I think that news is going to just become useless. I think people are going to do their own research if they want to find something out. And companies like CNN and CTV and whatever the case may be, they'll probably go bankrupt because all they're going to be good for is TV shows.
Sorry, I had like, while you're talking, I had like a bit of an epiphany. Because I actually this just like, it's like a flashback for me when I was doing research for an assignment for this kind of thing. We're at like 51 minute mark, so we're trying to keep these around an hour. So maybe this will be like the more or less final thought of all of this is I want to say it's Denzel Washington, but I don't think that's his name. It's the actor. Is it Denzel Washington?
Denzel.
The actor who was in he was in a movie that just came out recently.
Is it? I mean, I'm pretty sure probably is Denzel Washington who you're talking about.
Okay, it's probably the actor. Yeah. Okay. Anyways, he said in an interview, and I'm gonna paraphrase this, so if I get it slightly wrong, forgive me. But generally, the gist of this was, if you, I want to make sure I get this right. It's like if you read the news, you're misinformed, and if you don't read the news, you're uninformed. And he said, we live in an age where people don't. It's, again, I'm paraphrasing, but like we don't care about the truth anymore. We just want to get out the facts. We just want to say it and sell it. We don't care who it hurts, and we don't care who it affects or who it destroys. And I did this for a podcast. Sorry, this is great. I'm having a great time right now. But yeah, no, that's what he said, and it's so true as well, because like he was addressing, I think, some like rumors, like the the paparazzi and people make about him. And it is so, and again, just tying this right back into the whole Jussie, whatever his name.
Jussie Smollett, yeah.
Yeah. The whole situation, like it's been I'm sorry. I have assignments, and I'm not fully
we are
into
still in university, so we've got things on our mind, but
yeah, it's okay. But the point, sorry, can you just remind me what I was talking about?
Coming from the Denzel Washington quote, coming back to Jussie Smollett, about you were talking about how you did this on a podcast before.
Oh, okay. Well, basically that the newscasts, they don't really care who it affects, like, especially if it's the newscast is politically influenced. It's great for them. They get views, and then they get reactions, which means they get even more views, they get more money, they get more ads.
Yeah.
And everyone's, horky dorky.
Yeah.
But in the end, guys, I would say, and I said this in my podcast, it is very important that if you do have a moment, you guys, you do have a moment. Let's be honest. You scroll through Twitter and Facebook while you're sitting on the toilet. So let's be honest. You do probably have the time.
The moment. We all
It's
have
just
the time.
it's a quick search. Like just search it. Search the title of the article. See what else comes up on it, and then just see like what other people are saying about it. Because if you see, especially if you know, if they're influenced, then if they all kind of say one common thing, then you know at least that part of it's true.
Also, if you don't
it.
want to take the time to go and cross-reference and double-check things, then just don't take everything you see as fact.
Yeah.
Don't,
yeah.
If you're scrolling through Twitter and you don't want to research up on an article, if you see a headline that triggers you or pisses you off or attacks you emotionally, don't instantly believe
react. I guarantee if you react, if you share it and you react, I guarantee that's exactly what they want you to do.
It's exactly what they want. So just completely look at the title and if you get triggered, just be like, you know what? I'm not going to get triggered because I don't even know if that's true or not.
If you do feel that like it does really get to you, do a little bit of research on it.
Then
make your conclusion on it. Because I guarantee you, initial reactions is exactly what like newscasts and whatever news stations like feed on in terms of their like being successful as or having an audience as a news station. So we're at 5:55. I think we'll.
Yeah, I think it's good. I mean, we basically got everything we wanted off our chest for today.
Oh no, I didn't.
Oh, you didn't?
But I mean, with the media, I could just go on a tangent with them. But I mean, again, I'm. It's like a double-edged sword. You get some good, you get some bad out of pretty much everything in life.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do? Yeah. But I mean, so I hope you guys enjoyed this discussion. Again, like I really didn't know a whole much about this Jussie thing. So I guess if you're hearing about this for the first time, like I am, I guess stay tuned for what the verdict will be.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just still refreshing, but yeah, like he was in court today, so something's either going on right now. I don't know how long the court case will be. I don't know if he's just gonna. I mean, right now it's pretty much the same updates as before, but just stay tuned to your phones. Today is Thursday, February 21st. This is when this podcast will be uploaded.
It's about 3:05, so hopefully we'll try to get this up within the day.
Yeah, well, I mean, this will definitely be uploaded by the end of today.
Mm-hmm.
But for anybody who's listening, just check your Twitter, check your news, go through what the process that we've just explained to you to do. Pro
tips by J&Z.
Yeah, pro journalism skills by professors.
We got you,
Caleb and Josh.
Professors, yeah, really.
Yeah, but yeah, just stay glued to your phones today because this will be a doozy.
Well, yeah, and I guess that will end episode number 3 of Cloud Thoughts. Be sure, as always, to give us some feedback and like and comment and subscribe and all that good stuff. I see so many YouTubers do this, so I guess the little bell thing is also a big thing.
Yeah, hit the notification bell. That way you can put first, and then we can see you.
Put first,
in the comments.
Put first.
Because I know everybody loves doing that. The first thing they do is type in first in the comments. So if you want to do that, put notifications on because you will be able to do that on all of our videos. And you'll
get a virtual high five from us.
And we will like and give you a heart.
How about just for you. But yeah, you can find us on YouTube, on iTunes, SoundCloud. Hopefully, and this is just I'm gonna say this really quickly. Hopefully, we want to get into doing more like little shorts and stuff like that, and video shorts. As we go through our education here and learn a bit more how to use half the stuff that we do.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, stay tuned for that. Stay tuned for like behind the scenes stuff we want to do, for like an actual structured podcast, because here we just kind of like to talk.
Yeah.
So that's what we're doing. But for now, thanks so much for listening, guys, and we'll see you in episode 4 in another video.
Peace out.